Everything. And this is the 132nd episode of ClariTea Chat and the first edition of ClariTea Chat in 2025. So here is wishing everyone a happy and successful New Year 2025. Before we start today's session, I wanted to share that we have dispatched copies of Leading from the Back to 21 out of the first 25 attendees. We are reaching out to the eligible ones to seek your addresses. So do look at your LinkedIn one-to-one messages from my side. Many of you have also come forward to share your experiences of leading from the back with the network. We are collating this data and we'll reach out to you for your contributions. I am in touch with Mr. Ravikant for building that agenda. And in our video, we talk about taking feedback. So we will be soon running our annual feedback process. So do watch out and contribute to the agenda with your feedback and your comments. That will help us really improve it a lot. For today's session, we had a backlog of questions from the previous ClariTea Chat sessions, both guest sessions as well as AMA sessions that went unanswered. And some of these are really, really good. So they deserve a deep dive with relevant case studies. So we'll complete those backlog questions and we will still prioritize the your questions, the live questions over the backlog. So please keep your questions coming. So one of the questions that really came, which requires a deeper discussion is how to influence tough stakeholders, especially when change disrupts roles. What are the criteria for evaluating new technologies and vendors? And I had a personal experience of business-led digital transformation. Plus, of course, we'll take your questions. So meanwhile, do ask anything related to managing IT or leadership or any chronic issues that you face or you see around. This is your forum also to discuss taboo topics, the ones you don't get to ask in large conferences. And as always, you'll get honest answers, case studies, and practical approaches and thought processes. It's all about experiences, no gyan. So before I go forward, I just want to acknowledge our audience. We have CXOs, founders, and IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience. All of us know that technology is necessary but not sufficient to make an impact on business. The guests on ClariTea Chat, including me, the host, we have built the bridge between the necessary and sufficient with the art of managing not only technologies but also business relationships and partner relationships. And we build the bridge through ClariTea Chat between our learnings and all of you who are trying to make a powerful impact with technology. So thank you all for joining us for the last 131 episodes and encouraging us with your interactions and questions. May I request our audience to share your name and where you're joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. Right now, I feel a little all alone because I don't see any comments and looks like I'm talking. I'm talking to the screen alone. So please keep your just announce your presence, say hi, and then let's get started. Okay. So let's begin the session. So the first question that had come was that was there in our backlog, which required some time to elaborate and not really accelerate through, was this one, which is what's the best way to influence and win over difficult stakeholders, and how do we convince them when the new process technology may make some roles redundant? This was asked by Vijay Basu, and I would like to expand this a little bit. It is not about whatever makes some roles redundant, but also it may impact operations. The change may impact operations. There may be other kinds of disruptions, but end of the day, it all it all results in some or the other impact on your stakeholders. And then how do you then convince them, right? And how do you, the rightly as Vijay has put, how do you influence and win over difficult stakeholders? So I think first of all, it's not just about logic, right? You can't logically win over people. Okay, It's about trust. Okay, and trust is something that's the kind of a positive cycle. So if you trust somebody, they trust you. They may initially distrust you, but you keep trusting people, and slowly that trust starts building up. Okay, so as I always say that ClariTea Chat is all about experiences, no gyan. I want to tell you the story of one of my toughest stakeholders that I've faced and my team have faced, uh, uh, and how we won over, and he became our best stakeholder. Okay. So this was about a plant systems implementation project that we were doing, I think, way back when I was in Tata Motors, and we had very very brilliant and outstanding guy who was running the operations. He was heading the PPC. I actually invited him for today's ClariTea Chat to share his experience, his perspective, but he has had some accident at home, so he couldn't join us. So let me bat for him, and let me sort of share the entire experience. So here it was, and we started the implementation, and all the developments were ready, and we started doing some pilots, and my team kept coming back to me with a lot of frustration that, hey, this guy, he is acting tough, and we are not really able to go live, or we are not really able to progress. So I visited Pantnagar, and um, I actually had a meeting with him along with my team, right? Um, so let me do one small change to our ClariTea Chat AMA session. So I'll refer to that, to the philosophy of Mr. Ravikant, which is leading from the back. Um, so I started with an open mind. Okay, I said, okay, listen, I want to listen. So when I said trust, one of the first elements of trust, or one of the first principles of trust, okay, is there a goal divergence? Okay, now in our case, all of us are working for the company. We are all leading our different functions, and differences of opinion are definitely going to be there. Okay, but when you look at the eventual goal, is there a divergence? What is the eventual goal? It is to make the organization more efficient. It is to improve the top line, improve the bottom line, improve quality. Okay, and the first element of building trust is when I honestly look at the other person and I say, hey, is this guy is this guy's eventual goals the same as mine? Okay, and 99% of the time I have found that it's the same. Everyone in their own different ways is trying to impact the company positively. There are sometimes some stakeholders who are a little bit more selfish, and who are like, so let's not talk about them, let's talk about the 99%. So I started, kind of with an open mind, I started probing him as to what are his issues, what are his pain points, is the system addressing the pain points or not, what are the pain points the system is introducing. And one of the and that discussion led to a very important factor, which we had to sort of factor in a little bit more to ruggedize the system, and that was volumes. Okay, so our Pantnagar plant was the highest volume factory. Okay, and so much so, with all kinds of lean supply chain that we were running there, uh, I think everyone was on their toes, because 80 to 90% of your parts are outsourced. They come from your suppliers, and then your suppliers are around. So running the whole supply chain in a kind of minute to minute manner was really stressful. Okay. And his biggest concern was that, will there be an impact on that, okay, by the system coming in? Will it reduce my flexibility and agility? uh, will it allow me to handle all the kinds of scenarios that I'm able to do today manually? Okay, etc., etc. And we took those concerns and started drilling down deeper into, like, what are those, what is the granularity of those factors, and then we started factoring those in. Okay, so multiple things. It took us some time, and as I said, we kept on trusting him. We kept on demonstrating our trust by our actions, which is to keep going back to him with, like, with a reducing list of open items. And then what happened was, I think there was a point when it tipped. Okay, when he realized that, what, these guys are not just doing a job, these guys are not just out there to make a system live and then scoot from there, but these guys are genuinely working for benefiting us, and they are open to feedback. They are open to collaboration, and they are open to Hey, sorry guys, I got thrown out from my own studio. Actually, I'm in Mumbai, and I'm actually on my hotspot. And it so happened that, a call came and I got disconnected. And in the process, I have lost all your comments also. So, hey, Sumit or Vinay, can you please share the comments here? Just copy paste the comments on the private chat here. Okay. So coming back to my story, I think once we demonstrated that we had honest intentions, we are keeping an open mind, and we are not there to, like, simply shoot and scoot. I think then things started happening, and over a period of time, he became our biggest advocate, and he also became our biggest evangelist, because that was the first plant where we did that manufacturing system, and then we were supposed to roll it out to other plants, and he became our advocate. So that's a live example of winning over difficult stakeholders. I have another example. I had a very senior person who, I was like seeking, I was seeking an appointment with him for discussing, you know, sort of like, how do we engage strategically with his function? How do we streamline, manufacturing and all of that? And he was the senior most stakeholder, um, and he was not giving time, and I kind of realized when I spoke to different people, uh, I realized that it was actually not that he didn't want IT, but he was little uncomfortable. It was, sometimes your business stakeholders have this feeling that, hey, what will I discuss with technology guys? Because technology guys always tend to speak about technology, and not so much about business. Well, I kind of understood that, and I decided that, okay, when I talk to him, I will not discuss technology. Okay. So finally got a meeting, a half an hour meeting, which extended for 2 hours, and we primarily discussed about business performance. We discussed about processes, how, we had multiple versions of processes, how we have multiple versions of KPIs, and we basically connected to his pain points about, like, somebody in his office having to collate data from multiple units, and then trying to create an MIS for him. And we went into the root causes, and we demonstrated our knowledge of the business processes, about his pains, which kind of delighted him. Okay, I would say it was a different type of tough stakeholder. Okay, um, but again, I think in both the cases, one common theme was keeping an open mind and not trying to like really push your agenda, not trying to like take a project completion kind of view, but to uh, go deeper and deeper into understanding your stakeholder, and that you can do only if you have an open mind and you want to collaborate, right? So I hope these make sense. So let's discuss some of the elements of what Vijay asked. So one was like and how do we basically find alignment in divergences? Okay, so the divergence can be that, hey, there's a business case, we have to execute it, but roles are getting impacted. That's the view of your stakeholders. But the alignment is that there is a honest intention on both sides to improve the business performance. And the primary thing is not that the roles will get impacted, but the primary thing is that we have to become more efficient, to become more competitive, to have lower costs, etc. um, the other one is like it can be operations impact. Okay, or it can be like it may be a feeling that, okay, what IT is doing for themselves. I think that's where the alignment can be, that share the rewards, right? I mean, in my interactions with most senior stakeholders, I always insist, and again, this is something which I later on realized that this is coming from leading from the back philosophy, which is to tell people how they can differentiate themselves, right? In their peer, I would say, in their peer professionals, within their peer professionals, how they can demonstrate, a different level of performance with their seniors, okay, with the business unit heads and other guys. And in a way, like, how do you become a hero? So it's like, let's do something different. Let's take a bit of risk. We are together in it, so we are collaborating on it. Okay, but you take the rewards, right? Now, the other thing is that sometimes these differences of opinion that can be frustrating. But if you really and this is something I always told my teams, that let's not take differences of opinion on our ego. That's the worst thing to do. The differences of opinion, and especially the stronger a stakeholder is in terms of disagreeing with you, what you can definitely say about them is that they are taking that much more ownership of the function, right? They are taking that much more ownership of the operation. In this case, where it was the plant systems, this guy was like so passionate about not disrupting the operation that he was very, very demanding. So the people who take more accountability also demand more accountability from you. And this is something, if you understand, you will, I mean, it will help you improve yourself in terms of demonstrating that increased level of accountability. Okay, and it will also help you build a very, very healthy and respectful relationship. uh, if we understand that the person is taking a lot of accountability and ownership, and therefore he is demanding accountability from you, not because he's a tough stakeholder. So that's one thing to remember. Okay. Okay, so so let's uh, kind of end at that, and let's move to the next question, unless you guys have any question. So I can see. Thank you, Sumit, for posting those comments after I got disconnected. So Deepak Joshi from Delhi. Hey Deepak, thanks for joining us. Karthik, thanks for joining us from Bangalore. Sunayana, thank you, Sunayana, for joining us. And Mohit Pawar, thanks, Mohit, for joining us from Pune. Okay, so guys, if there are any questions, please shoot. Otherwise, we'll continue on the next topic. Okay. So the next question in our backlog, again, a very important one, which requires a deeper discussion, is what criteria do you use to evaluate new solutions or vendors? Okay. So, choosing a new solution or vendor is not just about cost or features. It is about there has to be a strategic element to that, which is about alignment, trust, and long-term impact. Okay. The real challenge is obviously separating the signal from the noise. Okay. So now, when we start, you know, on that topic, let's first rule out the most obvious and the most common and the most used method, which is lowest cost. When I say rule out lowest cost, means let lowest cost not be your first criteria or the biggest criteria for choosing a solution or vendor. Okay, so let's let me again start with a case study. So we were choosing a storage platform, and we had actually three different competing vendors. Okay, and these were like very big names in themselves. Okay, um, so that was around the time when there used to be a lot of noise around, like, our inability to bring new technology, or like, the technology choices we were making. So I actually entrusted one of my colleagues, a very bright young guy, to set up a process for technology selection. And he set up a very elaborate process that was a little slow. Okay, but you put it up to anybody about, let's say, reducing any time or any step from that, and you can't find any. Okay, and that was something which sort of opened a lot of eyes, including my own, that we can't be hurried about selecting a technology. There has to be a thorough process of due diligence. Now, why there has to be a very thorough and detailed process for due diligence is because any technology that you choose, I have posted a video about it long back, is that technology is like Hotel California, right? You can get into it, but it's very hard to come out because the exit cost challenges are just a lot. Guys, give me 1 minute. I'll be back. I'll just close my window. There's a lot of external noise coming in. Yep, I'm back. So, um, yeah, so we were talking about technology being Hotel California, that you can get in anytime, but you you can, but you can't leave. Okay, the reason is that most of the stuff in technology is implicit. It is either in people's minds, and you can't expect a level of documentation which will come to your help when you are trying to exit something, right? I mean, I had a very detailed, I would say, set of stuff in that video. Vinay, if you can post that video in the link of that video somewhere here, you should be able to find it in that Excel that we have. Please post it. Okay, please find and post it before we end. So, coming back to again that case study. So we that was like one of the first technologies. It was a completely new technology for BI data storage, which is very different from the OLTP data storage. And we ran the process. We ran benchmarks. We did reference calls. We did POCs, and so we just followed that process to the T. Okay, and end of the day, we selected a technology, and we also made this process transparent to our vendors, and we asked them for inputs that, hey, are we missing anything? That means, later on, I don't want to hear any complaints. It's also principle of mutual accountability. It's not that I'm a buyer so I can run any process. It's also that I'm a buyer and I care about my reputation, and therefore I want to set up a process which is above board, and you have a say in defining that process. Well, we didn't hear anything, and they said, no, this is a very fair and transparent process. Thank you so much. And then we ran that process, and the outcome of that process was, of course, like, one of the technologies had to be selected over others. And we did that. And then we, of course, communicated to others. And this guy, I think, he sought a meeting with him, and I granted, one of the losing guys. And he was all passionately like telling me how his technology is better and how, and you can say a very, very hard sales pitch. Okay. And of course, backed by data and whatever training they receive. I just asked him one question. I said, listen, buddy, if you were in my place, okay, and you had run this process, okay, would you be confident that the decision that comes out of that process, okay, is the best decision for Tata Motors? What that means is that, first thing, is the process that you went through, is there any deficiency in that process? He thought for a few moments and he said, no, Jagdish, I can't find a problem with the process, but my technology is the best and that you should take that. So I asked the next question. I said, so in my organization, if you were sitting in my seat, okay, and you would have run this process with 3 different vendors, and the process outcome is and whatever be the process outcome, okay, would you have trusted that process outcome, and would you agree that the outcome of that process is the best outcome for Tata Motors? Now, it's not about your technology being the best or not, but it's about what I need. And for that, I define a process, okay? And you haven't been able to find a fault with that process. Now, is that process delivering the best outcome for me or not? Okay. And he again thought for a few moments, and he smiled and he understood that, listen, when the process is strong, it is very difficult to doubt people. It is very difficult to doubt intentions. And, it just reduces a lot of noise and discussion and politics from the entire process itself, right? So here is like some learnings from this entire case study. So the first one is that open up and test the process with the partner. Okay, that means don't keep the process should be, the partner should know what is the process that they are going to be tested on, right? Second is that in your evaluation criteria, take a long-term view. Okay, please understand that it is Hotel California, and it is not only for technology, but it's also for partners, right? The next thing is the future readiness over the present fit. Present fit, many technologies can meet that, but you also need to look at the product roadmap, and a lot more, I would say, some discussions with some people who are tracking that partner, who understand how that partner is progressing on that product roadmap, etc., etc. And where are their strengths and weaknesses? Okay. So another, you can say, another example of that I can give you was like, a big decision that we had to make about collaboration system. Okay. And we had the 2 obvious players, and we started checking around. Well, one of them was much cheaper than the other. Okay. And then when we had some strategic discussions within the company and outside, some things were very clear. Number one was that one was coming from the enterprise side. They were an enterprise class and trusted by, like I would say 90% or 100% of the Fortune 1000 customers, and they were trying to kind of consumerize the experience of their products and all of that, right? And the other one started from a consumer side, and then they were trying to get into the enterprise side. I think you know who I'm talking about. Okay. And we took a very strategic view. We said, listen, the one who's coming from the consumer side, the consumers don't care so much about the rigor of security and privacy and all. And anyway, this guy, like, I would say, he uses the data of the consumers, because anything is free, your data gets used, right? Whereas the other company, uh, you know, they know enterprises, they know how CIOs think, they know what kind of security requirements are, and they have ruggedized their product from an enterprise point of view. And I shared it with our CEO, and I said, "Sir, on cost, I cannot justify this. But if you look at the strategic fit, okay, to the company and the long-term roadmap, I would go with a higher cost solution. Okay, and it does not make sense to me. And and here are the parameters, and primarily those were strategy related. And he actually got it like very fast. He's like, Jagdish, I mean, I understand. Put it up with the factors that you have told me. Put them in black and white, and then we will take a decision. And of course, we took that decision, right? So that's like your not just the future readiness over the present fit, but also the legacy of where they are coming from, what are their strengths and weaknesses. So for example, in this case, if I was looking for a solution for, let's say, my dealers or my consumers, right, I would really go with the other one, um, because the consumer grade experience I would be looking for, in a different way, rather than like selecting something for our employees, right? um, I think there are some other factors also, like for example, skin in the game assessment. How critical are you as a customer to their success, or like are you just another of their customers, right? And are there any co-innovation opportunities? Do they have any programs for where, let's say, they will also invest in solving your specific problems of your industry, or any innovation ideas do you have? Are there any of those, I would say, strategic elements in the relationship? And most importantly, are they willing to share the risk, or is it like the typical vendor where, or typical partner where, it's like heads I win, tails you lose. That means the whole contract and everything is loaded so much in your favor that you do whatever and you can go scot free, right? Then another one is like reference check beyond the references. Again, I wrote a blog about it on LinkedIn long back, which I called as the private social network. Okay, now this is something which are professional networks, where some of these discussions take place, which lead to decisions being taken by enterprises. So it's like I have run the entire process, my technology selection process, my partner selection process, and now I want to validate it. So I sort of post a support ask in my CIO's WhatsApp group, and I very high, at a very high level, I say, hey, we are evaluating these three vendors or these three solutions. We are tending to lean towards this one. We find them good, but I want to know what are the practical experiences, and and would you guys recommend that? It's a very open question. Would you guys recommend that? And many a times, people actually start sharing their horror stories about it, right? And the best thing is that the partners don't know about it. Okay, so uh, and that's where I think the point that I wanted to make in that blog was that, guys, don't just focus on sales, focus on the entire life cycle of experience, because that's what gets discussed in the CIO's WhatsApp groups, not just your sales, not just that you make a sale and then you go away, right? um, so uh, and I think there are other factors, so let's not get into that. I think this has been a fairly long answer, um, but um, and I think just to add to that discussion, where when it comes to the partner evaluation process, so this was more like a solution, more like a product solution kind of process. But when it comes to partner evaluation, there are some things that you need to look at, especially in the service partners, is like capability and thought leadership. Um, they always say that you should hire guys who are smarter than you, and I would say the same thing for partners. you should sign up with partners who are smarter than you, okay, who know more than you, so that they can pull you along instead of you pushing them along. So you need to sign up with partners who are better than you, who know more than you, so that they pull you along instead of you pushing them. Okay. I think that point I wanted to make it a second time as well. The second thing is that how much is the focus on the contract versus the temperament for innovation, okay, and the temperament for making us successful. One is to make the contract profitable, and the second is to make me successful. If you make me successful, of course the contract will be profitable, but many times, the account managers are so I would say so focused on improving their profitability, and you may be giving all kinds of promises, but I think I can tell you that this shows on your face. If you are looking for a profitable contract rather than a successful customer, it shows up, right? Recommendations from the network, we talked about it, and informal references, we also talked about it, right? um, there's one more thing which I actually learned from my some of my global engagements with again with companies who had better processes than us, and one of them was stress testing the solution. Okay, and this is a partner solution. Okay, that means there's a service solution. So here is what they did. Okay, so and here's what you can do. Okay, so let us say there's a solution proposal from the partner, everything all demonstrated. Now let's run a stress test on it. We say that, okay, guys, here is a crisis. Okay, so the system fails at 11 o'clock on the last day of the quarter, and you have a situation where everyone is awake and people are trying to make their numbers. What will be your process? Let's say it's an outsourcing partner. Okay, infrastructure outsourcing partner, right? Now you have to put some characters out there. Okay, and you have to really show a simulation of how my entire organization structure that I am putting up for you, how will that work to basically bring the situation under control. And it starts with how will a ticket gets raised, how will its severity get escalated, uh, how will you know that what is the level of impact, and therefore how will you involve your COEs, etc., 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 right? So you can actually create multiple scenarios. Like, for example, you can say that, listen, the number of tickets are increasing 20% month on month. So what is your process of controlling, and this is like a demonstration of your ITIL v3 expertise in action. Okay, so then and that's where the real juice of your capability comes out, when you're able to demonstrate that what are the various processes, metrics, dashboards, continuous improvement methods, the COEs that you will bring into play, and how will they orchestrate with each other. And I'll tell you one thing, it's much easier to put it in a contract, it's much more difficult to demonstrate it to the customer. So you can actually try that out. Well, I see some comments coming in, so let me bring that in. So Karthik asks a question: to what extent does peer review influence stakeholder acquiescence when facing resistance to change? Oh, a lot, especially in today's world, in today's hyper connected world, it does. Okay, I see, it's a very simple thing. Even when you are buying something worth 5,000 or 10,000, you always ask you tend to ping in a couple of WhatsApp groups that, hey, does anybody have an opinion about this one? I want to buy this. Okay, and you typically either it reinforces your decision or it changes your decision, and this works seamlessly across. So in today's world, for success, I think one of the biggest things that you need is credibility, right? And that credibility comes in when uh, when you take that tough path, or the rigorous path to build trust, which we discussed, right? So, it is like, if you're on the enterprise side, are you just executing projects, or are you going beyond the execution of projects to even sort of like, sit with the business, collaborate, and find out ways to, to generate the tangible returns on that project, right? So that will, now if you do that in one project, okay, and the next time you end up in a tough situation, okay, where there's a stakeholder who's acting tough, right, that is when either he will check with this stakeholder, or you can actually request this guy to talk to that guy and say that, hey, you know what, I mean, these guys, they know their business, and don't act funny, okay. So it does help a lot, okay. So GK Rohit, hello sir, good evening, good to see you. Hey, thanks Rohit, thanks for that. Then Sunayana is asking a question. It is hard reality that technology takes away labor oriented jobs. How do you manage such resistance in the organization? So Sunayana, yes, it is. But if you see that, there's another angle to look at that, which is that technology also enriches jobs. Okay. This is an example I give everyone, which is, a sort of, which happened long time back, right? So you had secretaries, okay? These secretaries used to actually manage diaries, okay? These diaries had dates, you remember the old diaries, they had dates and, time slots, and, they will maintain it very rigorously for the executive. And then, they will basically take dictations, and they will go back and type it on a typewriter, show the sample to the manager. He'll make some corrections, and then you now come and type a final version of it and all that, right? And if there are some mistakes, you got to type the whole thing again, right? And fast forward, word processors come in, the Outlook calendars come in. So does the secretary job go away? No, it actually gets enriched. Now you have a calendar of a manager which is now shared with the secretary as well as the manager. So you don't really need to, like, every after every meeting, you don't need to go to the room with a diary. You can simply, like, send a ping saying that, sir, I've here's your next meeting. Or you can set up meetings yourself without even checking with the executive. And of course, like, the executives can write their own mails, okay. And now what happens is that the whole job gets enriched. So if you look at why, jobs get impacted, it's because the productivity improves, right? And when the productivity improves, there has to be an effort to reskill the people. Okay, now there is a secretary who's, like, open to technology and says, oh yeah, I want to learn word processing, I want to learn the shared calendars, and I want to learn how Outlook, how I can better and more efficiently manage Outlook with my boss. And the other one, who's, like, disgruntled and says that, what, this technology is coming, is taking away my job. Who will lose the job and who will keep the job. Now, very important factor here, Sunena, I will call this out. Yes, it's true that technology does impact jobs, but please understand, protecting jobs, reskilling, etc., is not the technology function's responsibility. It is HR's responsibility, right? So whenever we are designing any technology initiatives, and whenever we are factoring in the business cases, etc., we have to take HR into confidence. Okay, nobody wants to lose an experienced person. Okay, as long as he's willing to be reskilled. So that, as long as, is very important. So you collaborate with HR, say that, hey, these jobs are going to get impacted. What's the best way to redeploy them? And have a three-way conversation between the function, the IT guys, and the HR. And let it not be a discussion between IT and the function. Okay. And that's when the employee-related concerns, the disruption-related concerns, etc., they have to be discussed between the technology and the function, and IT is only a facilitator. So I hope that makes sense. Summarizing, don't take ownership or, the burden of impacting jobs. It's a tripartite conversation between the function, HR and technology function. Okay? Eventually, we must forget that there is a goal alignment between all the three functions, which is to make the business more competitive, which is to improve business performance, which is to increase revenue, cut down cost, and that's a shared responsibility. That's not only technology's responsibility, not only the function's responsibility, and not only the HR's responsibility. It's a shared responsibility, and there have to be, discussed and commonly agreed actions that need to be taken there. Oh, so we have Mr. Arun Iyer. Thank you, Arun sir, for joining. Long time no see. I'm in Mumbai. But yeah, your question: why would a stronger part would like to partner with someone who's weaker? What will make them look at you as a partner? I think, sir, if you are talking about the size of the organization, um, stronger or weaker, if that's a question, I think um, I will answer that question as if it's coming from there, right? About the size of the organization. Sorry, guys, we are talking about technology, and there's a technology disruption once again, which is, I think I'm getting a call and then the network is disconnecting. It's very strange that even with 4G, it should happen that the data network goes if you get a call. Okay. So coming back to Mr. Arun's question, so sir, the ongoing wisdom that a lot of coaches tell you is that is leverage your strengths. So when we are talking to anyone, let size not be what do you call a criteria for stronger or weaker. It should be actually what is it? What is the differentiator that you bring to the table? And if that differentiator is not a strong one with respect to your competition, that we need to find a more competitive differentiator. We need to figure out, or we need to work a differentiator which can be my strong point. This is what I do which others cannot do, right? um, so and I think that's, if that is the sort of thought process, or if that's the approach, right, then you will always make sure that you're always innovating, you're always doing something to differentiate you, something which becomes a unique selling point for you with respect to your customers, that hey, this is what I do which others cannot do. And of course, like, I know you are in the travel industry, it's not so much, it's really difficult to find those differentiators. And I think in your case, the differentiator is always in the customer experience, on how you demonstrate and how you basically create that credibility. So in your case, I have seen um, the way I think your guys continuously interact with the customers. If there's a flight delay, you get a call. Anything that's happening in your this thing, there's a tracking and there's a continuous communication with the customer. And you demonstrate it a couple of times, and you also talk about it. You also make it a selling point for yourself, right? and that is something that that should make you feel strong. It's not your size that should make you feel strong. It's the differentiators and your unique capabilities that you bring to the table that should make you feel strong. Let me know if that answers your question, or we and enrich the discussion by asking a follow-up question. So thanks, Sunayana, for sending back your feedback. You rightly said that the combined responsibility of all can help in responding to this resistance. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Hey, meanwhile, team Sumit and Vinay, I've again lost all the questions. So if you can please post any other questions that have come after Mr. Arun Iyer's question. So thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on the chat. While the team finds out other questions, let me take the next one. Yeah, yeah. So the next one I wanted to take is actually not a question, but actually, a recent experience that I went through sometime towards the end of December, second half of December, which was about business-led digital transformation. So I was invited by one of my colleagues to be a jury um, on their digital transformation uh, uh, in a competition of digital transformation initiatives. So just for privacy reasons, I will not name the company or the individuals. I haven't sought their prior permission. But it was very delightful because so few things that stood out, which I wanted to sort of communicate to our audience. So number one was that this was top down. That means in that when that competition presentations were happening on that final day, along with the jury, we had the senior most people in the company sitting out there witnessing those presentations. That's number one. Second was that the entire sort of initiative was a joint initiative between HR and IT, right? Number three, these initiatives were led by business leaders, okay, and the technology people were part of their team, or they were like either mentors or participants in that team, and the other team member were also partners. So these three things, top driven, there's a very visible, demonstrable sponsorship from the top, right from the executive director onwards. There is it is led by business guys with IT people and partners in the team, and the entire initiative being jointly run by HR and IT. These are three things which really made me very, very confident about the success of that initiative, where business is owning the digital transformation and IT is helping them, catalyzing them, and HR is also participating in the same. So now some of the discussions we had in this chat, I think it will start making sense that how the three functions start collaborating together and how they start finding tangible success in those initiatives. So there's a question from Karthik. He asks, can weightage be given to the success of a technology in a demo sandbox test environment, and can it be considered? Yes, of course, it can be considered, Karthik. The only flag I will raise here is that many a times the biggest, make or break in case of any technology initiative can be the integrations with their existing systems. So if you're setting up a demo sandbox test environment, do test out how easy or difficult the integration works with your existing systems. Don't let it be a standalone sandbox test. Let there be a business scenario where you have master data coming from one of the enterprise systems, some process happening, some output going to a different system, etc., etc. Or make it real, as much real as you can make it. Maybe don't test out too many things. Test out a few things, but test them out end to end, and very, very critically, test out the integrations with your existing systems, right? Well, I think no more questions here, and for a change, I would like to end the chat. uh, on time for once. So, well, I think we have time for another question. So this question actually came in our last ClariTea Chat with Mr. Ravikant, and this is something where I think it's better than he taking up that question. I can take up that question, which was Siebel CRM required a lot of customization. Was there a thought of building a system from scratch? This came from Chetan Ketia. Um, well, we were never in doubt that we don't want to build a system from scratch. Okay, yes. Out of the box systems, enterprise systems created by somebody else do have license costs, but these license costs, you have to weigh them against what the end-to-end life cycle cost of a system you will create yourself, right? So the system you will, so what are the differences? The key differences, if I have to take the top three, number one is that an out of the box system like Siebel or SAP, they come with a lot of product documentation, right? And they come with and they come without people dependency. If you look at building a system completely on your own, um, if you have to create that kind of product documentation, you're going to be investing a lot more money. And why, systems which were built, which were handmade in the past, why they did not sustain? And one reason is that the product documentation was not there, the architecture documentation was not there, product documentation was not there, right? And the second thing is the people dependency. So you will find a big pool of trained Siebel resources, trained SAP resources, trained Oracle resources, but you will not find a big pool of people who are trained in your systems. Okay. Now, I want to make a difference here. If you look at this tendency towards building your own systems, especially for the systems of innovation, um, these three things that I just mentioned, okay, one is product documentation and people dependency, okay, and I think the third one is like the regular upgrades, okay. Now these things are changing. So when people are building systems today, there are technologies like Jira where you have very, very detailed documentation about the product and the business requirements and the solution. There are so that takes away to an extent the problem of product documentation, right? The second thing is that these are built on you know uh, fairly well available technologies, like whether it is Java or React or Python, etc., where you will find a lot of resources. And I think the functions have evolved in such a way that there's a good amount of architecture documentation, reviews, system of reviews, etc., which are built into that. So if you have these kind of ingredients in place, using standard technologies, using product documentation systems like Jira, and of course, like a good, you can say, product management set of competencies within your organization, you should build a system from the scratch. But of course, take care of the amount of time it is going to take. Okay, so well, guys, I think we are just at the end of the time. Karthik, thanks for that last note that I'm going to take. Thank you for the wonderful session. Thanks, guys. Um, and let me just do a quick summary of it. So Vijay asked about the best way to influence and innovate different stakeholders. We talked about the case study of the production system, and I think the key messages were that keep building trust continuously, demonstrate accountability, demonstrate your willingness to basically meet the requirements, uh, and you will win the trust of the people, and you will turn them around, right? Criteria for evaluating new solutions or vendors: rule out the low cost. Low cost should never be a factor for choosing a technology or a partner. We have to remember that technology is like Hotel California. It's very easy to get in. So don't make hasty decisions. Have a process which is transparent, which is rugged, and a partner cannot question the process. Make it transparent to them. And that process has to lead to the best decision for you, even if it takes some time, right? As far as partners are concerned, select partners which are smarter than you so that they can pull you up instead of you pushing them up. Okay. And also, of course, we talked about stress testing a partner solution by giving them tangible, I would say, tangible, practical scenarios, and let them demonstrate how the solution will address those scenarios, right? The next question was about technology impacting jobs. Um, so what we discussed is that it's a three-way collaboration between the operations, technology function, as well as HR, which has to keep that objective of improving the company performance, in reducing the cost, but also take a view on reskilling, on redeploying people. And technology guys should not and must not feel guilty of taking away jobs. It's not the technology which takes away jobs, it's bad management, bad people management that takes away jobs. Okay. um, we talked about Arun Iyer's question about why would a stronger partner like to partner with the weaker partner? I think here the question of strong and weak should come from your competencies and capabilities and not from your size. And as long as you are able to demonstrate the a differentiated level of capability with respect to the rest of the competition, I think people will look at you and people will not feel that you're a weaker partner, right? And I think, yeah, so that's, well, the last question was about, choosing a solution, out of the box solution versus building your own. I think the answer comes about, the level of product documentation that you get with the standard technology, and the people independence that you get, because there's a big pool of trained people on those technologies, versus doing all of these things on your own. So if you have the capability, product development capability, and the tools and systems that come in today's world, especially with cloud and automation technologies out there, go ahead and build your own solution. But just in case if there's something out of the box available, it should take you to the market much faster, right? So that's about it. I mean, despite all my efforts, I'm still like a few minutes over. We did take a last question on the on out of the box product versus building your own product. I think again that was a very important question, where there's no right answer, but the answer depends on, like, what's your priority, and what's your confidence on your own on your capabilities, and what's your willingness to build capabilities. So, on that note, let's end the session. So, thank you all for joining me. And I know many of you watch these sessions, the recording of these sessions. So, thank you all who are watching the recorded version. Please enjoy your family time and Happy New Year once again. We'll be back on next to next Saturday, that is 25th of January, um, with a CEO, a business leader, and a CEO for a difference. And till then, goodbye. And of course, watch out for the annual feedback process. See you. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend.